All right. So everybody in the chat, please take a couple seconds out right now, hit the like button, and we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Going to get right into it. Everybody in the chat, hit the like button, hit the like button. All right. So let's start with the basics, right? Let's start with the basics. So we're talking about the 7 natural alternatives to metformin. First of all, what is metformin? Well, if you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, or you have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, you most likely are very familiar with what metformin is. Metformin is an anti-hyperglycemic medication. Hyperglycemic means high glycemic, pretty much is high glucose, high blood sugar. And so this medication, metformin, works against that. And so the purpose of this medication works by different mechanisms, but the overall goal is to bring down the blood sugar. All right, so that's what metformin is. Now, let's talk about how metformin works. Also, you may know metformin also as glucophage, but most people nowadays just call it metformin. And it's so the way this medication works is that it works really in 3 ways. So the first way is that it slows down the absorption of glucose. So, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of how it works, and I'll go into detail about how the actual mechanism works. So first, it slows down the absorption of glucose. Next, it decreases the gluconeogenesis coming from the liver, and then third, it makes your cells more sensitive to insulin. So let's talk about the first part. So it decreases the absorption of glucose in your bloodstream. Now, so this way, when you are eating the foods you're eating, whether it be highly refined carbohydrates, what metformin is going to do is it's going to actually act on the intestinal lining, your gastric intestinal lining, and it's going to disrupt the absorption of the carbohydrates that you're taking in. And so what's going to happen is you're not going to absorb most of the carbohydrates that you're taking in. And so when you don't absorb it, when you don't actually bring it into your body, then your glucose won't increase. And so that's the first way that metformin actually helps out, or metformin makes your blood sugar lower, is by not absorbing most of the glucose that you're taking in. That's the first way. The second way is that it's going to decrease gluconeogenesis. So once again, break these big words down. Anytime you see one of these big words, please don't get intimidated by it. Lean into it, go into it. So let's look at the word gluconeogenesis. Once again, when you see gluco, we're talking about sugar. We're talking about the actual glucose in the bloodstream. Neo, when you look at it, Neo, that means new. Genesis, we all know what Genesis, right? This is talking about the creation. So gluconeogenesis is sugar, new creation. This is the creation of new sugar. Gluconeogenesis is something that takes place in the liver. So our liver has what we call glycogen. So in the time when we don't have food coming in our body, your body already has reserves. Those reserves of glycogen is stored in the liver for the most part. So during the time when you're not bringing in food, your liver is going to break down that stored glycogen and turn it into glucose. Also, your body will also break down stored fat in the time when it doesn't have glucose coming in, and it will break down that fat and it'll turn it into glucose. And so whenever you're taking substances in the body and converting it to glucose, that's called gluconeogenesis. So metformin inhibits, or it doesn't inhibit completely, but it slows down that pathway in the liver. And so your liver is not going to create that much glucose. Got that? And then next, the next way metformin works in the body is by increasing the insulin sensitivity of your cells. So when we're talking about diabetes, pre-diabetes, and even PCOS, I told you PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is diabetes of the ovaries. PCOS is diabetes of the ovaries for most women who have it. And so when we're looking at those 3 things, the actual underlying foundation of that is insulin resistance. So your cells have made the intelligent decision, regardless of what these folks are telling you, your cells have made the intelligent decision to downregulate the insulin receptors. What metformin is going to do is it's going to actually, it's going to disrupt the pathway dealing with your mitochondria, and it's going to upregulate the insulin receptors. And so this is going to make your cells more sensitive to insulin again. Okay. So 3 ways that metformin works. 1, by slowing down the absorption of glucose. 2, by decreasing gluconeogenesis. And then 3, by making upregulating the insulin receptors on your cells, which improves your insulin sensitivity. Everybody got that? Everybody got that? All right. So those are the 3. That's the 3 ways that metformin works on your body. Now let's keep going. So understand that metformin is usually the first line medication that's prescribed to someone who is diabetic, but now it's being heavily prescribed for people who are just pre-diabetic. Now, I don't even really believe in pre-diabetic. I say that if you're pre-diabetic, go ahead and act like you are diabetic and start taking action to actually reverse that. Don't wait 3 months. Don't come back and check your blood work to see if it actually went up. If they tell you that you're pre-diabetic, in your head, let that register as you being diabetic and taking action. Okay. If they're telling you that it's a little elevated, take action, because when you allow pre-diabetes or insulin resistance to continue to live on and thrive, you're setting the foundation for amputations, heart disease, kidney dysfunction, blindness. That is the actual foundation that is being built when you allow that to take place. When you allow your doctors or your PAs or your nurse practitioners or whoever to tell you to come back in 3 months and let's see what happens. Don't just see what happens. All right. Don't wait for things to get hot. You're already in the frying pan when they tell you that you're pre-diabetic. So let's stop this. I'm just pre-diabetic as if it's not a problem, because it is a huge problem. That's the actual foundation. And it's easier to reverse insulin resistance in the earlier stages, such as pre-diabetes. Okay. So no more of the I'm just pre-diabetic or it's a little elevated. No more relying and relaxing on that. Okay. Take action right now. So back to metformin. So metformin a lot of times is the first line of medication for people who are diabetic. It's also championed as being one of the best medications for diabetic because they say, once again, it improves insulin sensitivity. It slows down gluconeogenesis. And what patients may notice when they're taking metformin is that they may actually lose weight, which is rare for a diabetic medication because the other medications make you gain weight. Whole different topic. But if you really think about what I just laid out, if you really think about what I just said as far as how metformin works, and then you think about fasting, which you know I'm always talking about, metformin is literally mimicking fasting. So you're paying for a pill that is trying its best to mimic fasting, decreasing the absorption of glucose. Just don't eat. Decreasing gluconeogenesis by your liver, just don't eat. Improving the actual insulin sensitivity of your cells, just don't eat. Fasting does all 3 of those for free without the side effects. So I guess that would be the next thing to address is the actual side effects of metformin. So understand that any medication you take, there is no benign medication. There is no medication that does not have side effects. That's how these medications work. They chemically alter the physiology of the body, whether your body wants it to happen or not. It goes behind your body's pathways, which is like going behind your body's back, and it's making things happen, whether it's inhibiting enzymes, whether it's blocking receptors, whether it's causing vasodilation or vasoconstriction, whatever it is stopping or inhibiting or slowing down, your body did not agree to that. And so when you're taking in chemicals that's altering your natural physiology, you're going to have what the medical community calls side effects. And so metformin, like every other medication, comes with side effects. And so when you're taking a medication such as metformin, there's a couple of things that you have to look out for, you have to be aware of. And most people already know what the first side effect is. So if I won't ask that question because I don't want anybody to give any information that they don't want to give. But when we're talking about side effects of metformin, most people for the first part already know stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, gas. And if you listen to how the actual medication itself works, it makes sense. The first way metformin works is by decreasing the absorption of glucose, of carbs, right? And the way it does that is by it inhibits the absorption. It slows down the actual absorption and the motility of the food. This can't be good when it comes to digestion. And so you're going to have irritation of the lining of the GI system. A lot of people. So everything people know when they're taking metformin is you bet not take it on an empty stomach. Taking metformin on an empty stomach is a big no-no. Too many people find that out the hard way. And when they find that out one time, they usually don't do it again. Okay, they usually don't do it again when they find it out the first time. So make sure that you're aware of this. So one of the side effects of metformin, like I said, is stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, and it's due to the fact that the gastric absorption, the motility has been inhibited, it has been decreased. And so this is why you're going to have that increase in osmolarity. You're going to have an increase in the actual sugar and the glucose in the GI system. And so a lot of time your body's going to try to move that out quick, leading to diarrhea. Osmolarity, which is more pressure on the outside of the cells versus, extracellular osmolarity means that you have excess pressure on the outside of the cells than inside of the cells. And so what this is going to do is it's going to cause water to come out of the actual lining, and it's going to be in the lining now. And so that's going to cause diarrhea. So diarrhea is one of those things that people see a lot of times as well too. Now let's talk about another side effect. This side effect is very rare, but it's very serious. This is lactic acidosis, which is the buildup of acid inside the bloodstream. This is very, very dangerous, but once again, it's very rare. The other thing that I want you to know about is when you're taking metformin, every practitioner should know this, and every practitioner should warn their patients. And this is the B12 deficiency. The B12 deficiency and the folic acid deficiency. This is a huge problem. And there's an article that just came out at the end of 2018 on Medscape talking about how big of a problem it is. And I've been making videos about the B12 deficiency since the beginning of 2017. Now, when we're talking about B12, understand, all right, so it's a vitamin. Folic acid also, these are important essential minerals and vitamins for a body. B12 plays a huge role in the red blood cell production. Therefore, if you're deficient in B12, you're going to have lower amounts of red blood cells. We're talking about possibility of being anemic. B12 also plays a pivotal role in the production of energy. So when you have lower levels of B12, you can feel weak, you can feel fatigued, tired all the time. B12 also protects your eyes, specifically from an eye condition called macular degeneration. So that's a huge problem as well too. B12 plays a huge role when it comes to brain health and memory. B12 plays a huge role when it comes to brain health and memory. So when you have lower levels of B12, your brain becomes vulnerable, your eyes become vulnerable, your red blood cells become vulnerable as well too. Also, B12 and folic acid, the combination of the two being decreased will increase your homocysteine. And when we see somebody who have higher levels of homocysteine, we know that they are a higher risk for cardiovascular disease. And then lastly, well, not even really lastly, but the last part that I'll say is that being B12 deficient, and this is what the article was talking about. Everybody, people who are diabetic, they understand about neuropathy. This is when you have nerve pain, specifically in your feet or your hands. And it's like this burning, dull, aching, numbing pain. It's very, very annoying. And this is something that's very common in diabetics, and it's due to the high levels of blood sugar on a constant basis. And that high blood sugar starts to damage the nerves. Well, B12 protects the nerves. B12 actually protects the myelin sheath, the lining of the actual nerves itself. And so when you have B12 being decreased, your nerves are now vulnerable. So what they are realizing is that neuropathy is extremely common in people who are diabetic. They call it diabetic neuropathy. What they're realizing is that diabetic neuropathy may really be B12 deficiency neuropathy. You may only be experiencing neuropathy because you're B12 deficient. You're B12 deficient due to the fact that metformin is decreasing the B12. Everybody follow me so far? Everybody follow me so far? Also, make sure you like this video. Everybody in the chat right now, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Make sure you share this video, push this video, because I know you know somebody who is diabetic, pre-diabetic, or has PCOS. Why do I know that? Because our stats is extremely alarming, extremely alarming. So share this video out. You want to do your part, share this video out. You want to be a part of the revolution, share this video out, because this information is revolutionary. Because I'm supposed to be telling you about how to take metformin. I'm supposed to be telling you about what to experience and how to be, you know, just very compliant with controlling it, keeping it nice and measured. But I see things differently. I see things very differently. So I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I have been sent to do. And so please share this video, send it over to your family members and everybody who benefit from it. And what else? What else? What else? How y'all doing over here in the chat? Please go ahead, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Appreciate it, appreciate it. All right, let's keep chopping it up. So we just finished. So what have we covered so far? We talked about what metformin is. We talked about how metformin works, the mechanism of action, also known as the MOA. We talked about the side effects of metformin. Now, this is my personal thing that we're about to talk about, and it is the clinic to dialysis clinic pipeline. It is the clinic to dialysis clinic pipeline. But type 5, if you know what dialysis is. Type 5 in the chat if you are aware of what dialysis clinic is. Type 5 in the chat, please. If you know what dialysis is, type 5. 5, okay, 5. 5, 5, okay, 5. All right, so the 5 coming in. Okay. So what is said to be the #1 cause for dialysis? Kidney failure. So dialysis is a procedure that's done for people who have end-stage kidney failure. This is when they're hooked up to a machine that will filter out their blood. This is a procedure that needs to take place for 3 to 4 hours at a time, 3 to 4 times a week for the rest of their lives. So if you know what it is, okay, so I see a lot of 5s. I see a lot of 5 people are very familiar with what the dialysis is. So before you get on dialysis, you have to have kidney failure, right? What do they say is the #1 cause for kidney failure? What's the #1 cause for kidney failure? What do they say is the #1 cause for kidney failure? Because when I come back and do the presentation on dialysis, I have my own take on it. What do they say? What do they say? So what they'll say is that diabetes is the #1 cause for dialysis, kidney failure, diabetes. And the way that works is that pretty much when you have high blood sugar, so the high blood sugar is in your bloodstream is toxic, but in your cell, it's even more toxic. Did I say that right? So, and this is why your cells make the intelligent decision to downregulate the insulin receptor. So when your cells become insulin resistant, it's not doing that on accident. It's not a mistake. It's doing that on purpose. It's doing that to actually protect itself. It's adapting to the high levels of glucose on the outside. And your cells have your cells have a capacity where it can only take in so much glucose. And so if forced to, then the cells will take in more glucose. But the optimal, I'm just throwing out numbers. I have to still kind of go into this as far as the actual percentage. But let's say 80% of glucose or 80% fill rate as far as the cells go is optimal. Well, at that point, your cells are going to downregulate the insulin receptors because we don't need any more glucose. We don't need any more. So we're going to downregulate the insulin receptors. Go give it to the other 37 trillion cells that may need it. I don't need it. Well, the other 37 trillion cells feel the same way. They don't need it. Why? Because we as a society have been told to eat every 2 to 3 hours. We as a society have been told to eat 6 small meals a day. And so we have this constant influx of glucose spikes and insulin spikes. And so insulin and glucose are both banging on the door all day long because that's what they told you to do. And I'm going to tell you what, that would be the advice I would give to somebody who I wanted to become diabetic. Eat more and frequently. that is toxic advice to give to someone, especially if they're diabetic. Um, so, anyways, where was I at? So, when we're talking about insulin resistance, your cells have determined that this is what they need to do. And so your body's going to intelligently keep the glucose outside in the bloodstream because it's even though it's toxic out there, it's even more toxic inside the cells. So your body's going to keep it in the bloodstream because the next intelligent move is going to be to excrete it out of the body through urine. And that's what the body's going to do. The body is now going to pull on the water from the cells. And this is why most diabetics, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10 are dehydrated. It's going to pull the water out of the cells to dilute the blood, because when you have high levels of glucose, you're going to have high levels of viscosity, meaning you have thicker blood, meaning that your heart has to actually work harder to actually pump the blood, meaning that your blood pressure is going to be increased. Oh, wait a minute. High blood pressure from high glucose? Yeah, that's right. Don't worry, they got medications for that too. So now you have high viscosity, meaning thick blood. Your body will now have to pull on water to dilute that blood. So it's like that Kool-Aid that we used to make back in the days. And if you let me make it, I'm putting a little bit of water, a lot of Kool-Aid, and a whole lot of sugar. And then you try to stir that thing. It ain't nothing but just sugar and water. And then mama come in there, slap your head with the spoon. Boy, then pour water in there, dilute it, mix it up. All right, now we got some Kool-Aid versus just wet sugar. And so your body's going to do that for you. It's going to, now when it dilutes it, it's going to send that high glucose to the kidneys. And so the kidneys are now going to filter out the glucose, and it's going to excrete it via the urine. So this is your body adapting and protecting itself and sending the high glucose to the actual kidneys to be urinated out. But that high level of sugar, even though your body can deal with it, it's only built to deal with it in an emergency situation, because your body is hoping that we chill out with the eating and chill out with the high glucose. But once again, you're told to eat frequently, right? You're told to eat 6 times a day. Insane. So eventually this is going to take a toll on the kidneys, because there's only so much your kidneys can actually take. Your kidneys doing so much. And now it has to now filter out this high level of sugar along with the actual nutrients. Because when you urinate, you're not just losing the sugar, you're not just losing water. Yeah, you're taking vital minerals with it as well too. So, and that can also cause UTI and yeast infections. And so this tasking, this high work that's being done by the kidneys day after day after day, then you throw medications on top of it. I don't know why they act like medications don't affect the kidneys in a negative way. Medications actually affect the kidneys worse than the actual blood sugar itself. But that's a different conversation. I will present that when I come through with the actual dialysis presentation. So this is how the kidneys get worked, so much so to the point where your kidneys are inflamed. They're no longer filtering properly, and to the point where they say you now need to be hooked up to a machine called a dialysis. Well, why do I call this a dialysis, a clinic to dialysis pipeline? It's because medications don't work. Now, this isn't just me saying this. I've go back to my videos and I've explained why these medications don't work. So understand that, you know, everybody who's on diabetic medications, for the most part, y'all you know the deal. You know the deal, you know the game, you know how the actual system works, right? You get put on metformin 500 milligrams. It gets to the point where that 500 milligrams is not enough. So now they're going to put you on metformin 500 milligrams BID twice a day. It gets to the point where that's not enough. Now we need to maybe go metformin 1,000 milligrams twice a day, or we're going to add in another drug, another oral hypoglycemic. Let's add in the sulfonylurea. Sulfonylureas are medications that act specifically on the pancreas to increase the actual glucose secretion from the pancreas, something like glimepiride, glipizide. And so now you're going to be taking 2 oral medications, metformin plus a sulfonylurea. You choose which one, and then you're going to be doing that for a little while. Well, guess what? That's going to get to a point where that's no longer effective. And so now you have to introduce insulin. So everybody who is diabetic, for the most part, y'all know I'm not lying. If you're a practitioner, you know I'm not lying. You know that this is how this thing goes, right? It's like, so I'm not just making this up. You know that this is how it goes. 1 medications, increase the dose. 2 medications, increase the dose. Add in insulin, and this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. When we look at the rates of people who are well medicated, their glucose is being tightly managed. We would think that this would grant us the results that we want, right? If you're taking this much medications and you're being compliant and you're keeping your A1C in that tight range, you measure your sugar every day and it's being tightly controlled, you would think to yourself that this is improving my health, right? That's what you would think, right? That's what you would definitely hope, that this is improving my health. It doesn't work like that. So once again, you can check out the other videos, but real quick, I'll go through, everybody type in the nnt.com, you're going to click on reviews. You're going to click on therapeutic reviews, scroll all the way down to where it says endocrinology. Then you're going to click on where it says tight glycemic control for type 2 diabetes. And so pretty much you got to look at independent studies. If you read studies and research that were done by pharmaceutical industries, guess what's going to happen? We call it the hustle. We call it the okie doke. we call it many things. And that's what we're being given. This is what we're being shown. This is what our practitioners are telling us, because like I said, for the most part, they don't know. Like, we're just studying and reading the books. Like, I read these books, and pharmaceutical industry and their advice is already baked into it. It's already baked into it, because it scares the crap out of you to think that if you don't take these medications that something's going to happen. Well, this study right here shows you that even if you take the medications, you're still at risk. The only thing that has been shown and proven time after time to cut the risk, to actually improve your health, was what? What is it? Let me know. What's the only thing that will actually cut your risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney damage, dialysis, amputations? What actually prevents and reverses type 2 diabetes? If you know somebody who actually prevented and reversed type 2 diabetes, what did they do? Can you show me one person who has reversed diabetes with medications? No, it don't work like that. I told you. It goes when you start treating a dietary condition as if it's a medical disease, there is no going back. And so what the medical institution has done is it has taken a dietary condition. Like, we only have type 2 diabetes because of the food and because of our lack of movement. Like, that's the only reason we have it. We're eating nutritional colonizers. We're eating processed foods. These foods are going to break down in the body. It's going to spike the glucose, it's going to spike the insulin, it's going to cause inflammation. And so the body has to respond this way. It has no other choice. What do you want the body to do? If it doesn't respond like that, then you die right then and there. So the body's not going to let you die. So it's actually going to adapt to it. So we only deal with diabetes because of the foods. If you were out there in nature, it'd be impossible to develop type 2 diabetes. Impossible. You can go and chew on a sugar cane all day long. Your jaw will fall up before you become diabetic. It doesn't work like that. So when we talk about type 2 diabetes, we only have it because of the food. Therefore, it's a dietary condition. It's a dietary condition. It's not a medical condition. But when you take a dietary condition and you treat it as if it's a medical disease, there is no reversal. You have to keep going that way. You have to keep going that way, because you're throwing medications on top of something that can be solved by getting rid of the food. So the only time people actually reverse diabetes or prevent diabetes is when they deal with the lifestyle, the things that we're going to talk about at the end of this conversation: the food, the eating, the drinks. That's the only time you'll hear about somebody reversing. Oh yeah, there's one more case. If they have a bariatric surgery, then they'll also reverse type 2 diabetes. But why? Why? Because a bariatric surgery is an extremely expensive forced fast. Bariatric surgeries are an extremely expensive forced fast. So that's why they're going to reverse their type 2 diabetes. Eating is going to reverse the type 2 the food lifestyle part is going to reverse type 2 diabetes. Everything else will only grant you symbolic victories. The medications will grant you symbolic victories. Now, if you don't believe me, like I said, make sure you read this. So this study right here is talking about type glycemic control for type 2 diabetes over a 5-year span. They want to know how many people do you have to treat to prevent death? How many people you have to treat to prevent stroke? How many people do you have to treat to prevent heart attacks, kidney failure, and amputation? When you click on the percentage, 0 for death, 0 for stroke, 0 for heart attack, 0 for kidney failure, and 0.4% were helped by preventing a limb amputation. When we look at how many people were actually harmed, 17%, 17.5% were harmed by severe hypoglycemia requiring hospitalization. And so this is the stats, this is the study of what happens when you're doing what the American Diabetic Association has told you to do, which is keep that thing tightly controlled with these medications. That don't work. The only thing that works is the actual lifestyle. If you're taking the medications and you're not working on a lifestyle and you're just still eating the same way, the same thing happens. If you're not taking medications and you're still eating the same foods, the same thing happens. We're not seeing a decrease in mortality and morbidity. Do we see a decrease in your A1C? Yeah, I agree. It works. Do we see a decrease in your blood sugar? Yeah, I agree. It works. But is it effective as pertains to decreasing your mortality and morbidity? Yo, the numbers say no. It's not me just saying it. The numbers say it. All right. So what's going on, YouTube? Y'all good? We in here cooking, man. We in here cooking. All right, let's keep on going. So I say all that to say this is that there is an actual pipeline, because when you continue to do the same thing, medications, increase the medications, the risk of a heart attack, stroke, blindness, kidney disease, amputation, all those things are still, you're still at risk. You're still at risk. And that's because the medications are not dealing with the actual issue. The issue is the food. The medications don't do anything about the food. The medications just give you a symbolic victory. They just make things look nice and neat. But the actual pathology is still raging on. All right. So now let's talk about my basics of type 2 diabetes. So I'm going to give you the 7 herbs, the 7 natural alternatives to metformin. But don't even fix your mind to start taking herbs if you're not doing the basics. Understand, yes, I'm a huge fan of herbs. I sell herbs. I have an herbal company, right? But don't even waste your time and your money by taking herbs if you're not going to be doing some of these basics. I'm not saying you have to do all of the basics, but you got to be doing some of these basics, right? So let's talk about the basics. And you heard me echo this in all my videos. So I'm going to talk about the basics, and then I'm going to talk about the actual herbs. First one, stop the nutritional colonization. That's the basics. You got to stop that. If you're bringing in food that's going to make you sick, then you're going to get sick. We don't have to even go much further. Standard American diet, processed foods, I call them the nutritional colonizers, because just like the colonizers on actual territory, they rob you of your natural resources. They start a subtle war, whether you know it or you don't know it, it's taking place. Well, the foods do the same thing as well too. They come in, they rob you of natural resources, your magnesium, your calcium, your B12. The medication, they also rob you of your natural resources as well too. And so it leaves you very, very vulnerable. It leaves you extremely vulnerable. And the condition just continues to progress. Continues to progress. So if you're taking in a nutritional colonizer and you're eating herbs, guess what? Guess what? No revolution takes place, because the nutritional colonizers in the herbs will learn how to get along in perfect harmony. Your revolution has been overthrown. Like it's not happening. It's not happening. Stop the nutritional colonization. All right. And the way you're going to do that is by eating whole foods. I recommend, over here at H-BAMN, we recommend eating 70 to 80% whole foods, plant-based whole foods, at least 70 to 80% plant-based. And we tell you to put a strong emphasis on greens, leafy greens, strong emphasis on greens. Understand, we're not lacking in the department when it comes to the proteins and the carbs and the fats as a whole. What we're lacking on is what we call phytonutrients. These are nutrients that you can only get from plants. That's what we're lacking on. We're lacking on the minerals, we're lacking on the vitamins, we're lacking on the fiber. All right. We have to take in way more of that. That is your action, that's your medicine. Next, movement. So we're designed to move. I'm not talking about buying a gym membership because you don't need it. If you got one, great, use it. But if you don't make that an excuse to just not do anything. Somebody told me the other day, you know, you have to understand that we don't have parks in our neighborhood. I get that. I get that. But if you got a small space, all you need is a small space, and you can get down. You can start doing some burpees. You can start doing some mountain climbers. You can do jumping jacks. You can do running in place. You can do push-ups. There's so many things we can do with just body weight. So get the idea that you need weights. Get the idea that you need this big gym. Get the idea that you need this huge park to work out. Get that out of your head because you don't need that. Get you a little space and put in the work. Come up with a regimen. I recommend high intensity interval training. This means that you're going to have intervals of high work, low work, high work, low work. So this will look like 30 seconds of going all out, whether we're talking about jumping jacks, running in place, mountain climbers, and then you're going to take 15 seconds of low work. So this can be just lightly jogging in pace. That's going to be your break, lightly jogging in place. 30 seconds come, go all out again. All right. Push all that other complicated stuff to the side. You need a workout program? No, you don't. Just stop moving. You need a gym? No, you don't. Every 45 minutes, set your clock to at work and get up, walk upstairs, walk down the hallway, go back to your seat. Next, water. Water, water, water. I already told you, if you're pre-diabetic, diabetic, PCOS, or insulin resistant on any level, you are automatically going to be dehydrated, at least on a mild level, because high levels of glucose will increase the osmolarity, the pressure outside of the cells, and it's going to force your cells to give up its water so that it can dilute the high glucose. Therefore, your cells are going to be dehydrated, at least on a mild level. So you have to drink more water. You have to drink more water. Our body, look, planet Earth, 70% water. Human body, 70% water. Our 37 trillion cells, 70% water. There is a pattern there, and you should not ignore that pattern. The juices, the sodas, the Kool-Aid, like whatever, all those things, when you're drinking that, I want you to envision liquid diabetes or diabetic fuel. Like that's what they should put on top on these cans. The little 50-cent cans, 50-cent cans of soda. I know they cost like what, $1 now? I don't know. But in your head, start seeing that as liquid diabetes fuel. All right, that's what it is. Next, sunlight, vitamin D. Vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone. You need hormone D. Not being vitamin D deficient, which 90 to 95% of the Black community is, which is a huge problem. That's not a small problem. It's a huge problem. But being low on that hormone makes you vulnerable to everything from heart disease, cancer, specifically prostate cancer in men and breast cancer in women. It leaves you vulnerable to pancreatic disruption, kidney disease as well too, kidney inflammation specifically, because the kidneys actually activate your hormone D. So get out into the sun, get out into the sun, get out into the sun. And then lastly, my recommendations for the basics for diabetic improvement is fasting. You know, fasting is everything. Fasting is my gospel. You know I was going to speak about it. You're not going to get away from me without me talking about fasting. I do it every single time because I know for a fact that fasting is the one thing that will improve our community overnight, radically improve our community overnight. It was always one of our basic principles. It was always one of our basic African principles. Fasting is our first line of offense as it pertains to all these health conditions, first line of offense and defense. Fasting is simply abstaining from food for a certain amount of time. I recommend that you do a daily 16-hour fast. Drinking water only. Don't make this thing complicated. Just drink water only. Water only. Can you drink green tea? Yeah, green tea. Can you drink black tea? Yes, you can. Can you drink? Yeah, so you can definitely drink those things, but don't add anything to it. I recommend everybody get into the habit of making a 16-hour fast their norm, and make sure you start throwing in. Don't be afraid to do 24. Don't be afraid to do a 48. Understand that you're not gonna starve. Stop letting them confuse you and thinking that fasting and starving is the same thing. It's not. You know that you have people in third world countries who are actually fasting, who are actually starving for real. See, fasting is voluntarily abstaining from food. You're doing it on your own will, and you can break your fast at any point. You can actually eat at any point. However, starvation means that you wish you had food. You wish you had a breadcrumb. You wish you could end this pain that you're going through, but you have no idea when you're going to actually eat. That's starvation. Let's not minimize the definition of starvation. All right. Starvation is a real thing. You have people going through it. When you don't eat for your little 2 to 3 hours, you're not starving. You're not starving. All right. So now what herbs? Man, look at the time. All right. So what herbs do I recommend? What herbs do I recommend? Let's talk about it. Because this is the sexy part, right? Like everybody likes the herbs. Like I said, I sell herbs. Matter of fact, there's a link in this description of this video where you on our blood sugar kit. It's called Insurgence. Make sure you check those out. Click the link if you want to learn more about it. So let's get back to it. Let's talk about the 7 herbs that I recommend. These are herbs that you have probably in your house right now. Understand? Let's not spook out what herbs are. They are essentially dried plant parts, and those plants really, as a whole, they have medicinal properties. It's very hard to find a plant that does not have a medicinal property to it. So people are going to want to know why I left out this one, why I didn't say this one. I mean, we keep it funky, really any plant is going to help improve your health. I mean, somebody's going to say poison ivy. Well, poison ivy actually has some benefits to it. That's a whole different conversation. But again, it will be pointless to try to incorporate a herb into your lifestyle without doing one of these basic fundamentals of improving. I recommend doing at least 1 or 2 of these basic improvements before you add a herb to it, because if you're not doing it and you're still bringing in the food, you're still not moving, you're still drinking juice, you're still sitting inside, you're still eating frequently, I mean, you're really kind of just wasting your money. I mean, you can do it, but somebody's benefiting once again off of you, and you already have a whole system that's benefiting off of you. So let's let you get some benefit. Let's start winning. All right, you benefit, you win, you progress. It's time for you. So we'll start with it. So the first 3 that I'm going to talk about, they specifically work by actually upregulating the GLUT4 receptor. So the GLUT4 receptor, once again, this is the insulin receptor. So I told you that your cells have intelligently downregulated it, right? What we need to understand is that the reason why I tell you to make sure you're stop decreasing nutritional colonization is because the nutritional colonization is going to make your cells increase glucose at a very obscene level. It's a very unnatural level. And so you don't need glucose going into that cell because the cell's already full. However, when you stop the nutritional colonization and you start eating whole foods, and then you're using these herbs, that's when it's going to work beautifully for yourself. All right. So green tea lowers blood sugar levels and it alleviates the resistance by, once again, by increasing the expression of the GLUT4 transporter. Green tea has also been shown to increase CCK. CCK is also an appetite suppressant. So green tea, so I know a lot of people think that it's the caffeine in green tea that decreases your appetite, but it's actually the stimulation of CCK that will decrease your appetite. And so CCK is a hormone that's released by the intestines, and it's done naturally after a meal, because after a meal, you need to decrease your appetite. When you eat food, most people don't feel hungry anymore because CCK is being released, and that's going to decrease your appetite. And so green tea will actually help produce more of that, which is going to reduce your appetite. Next, we have ginger. So ginger has a active component called gingerol, and this one as well is going to make the GLUT4 receptors more available. Then we have cinnamon. Everybody knows cinnamon. That's probably like one of the first ones that you know about, right? Cinnamon. So cinnamon is really simple. Cinnamon is very available, and it tastes good as well too. But it does this by increasing the insulin sensitivity on your cells, and it does that once again by acting on the GLUT4 receptor and making your muscle cells more sensitive to insulin. And it also Once again, since cinnamon also acts as a appetite suppressant as well too, and so cinnamon can help you fast longer. Green tea can help you fast longer as well too. So both of these, so all three of these things will help you bring down your blood sugar, increase your insulin sensitivity. But like I said, only do that when you're cutting out the nutritional colonization, when you're actually working towards improving your health. What else do we have? So I'm going to start doing some spelling because things start to get a little weird as far as the sounds of it. So next we have banaba. So banaba leaf is anti-inflammatory and it's an oxidant. It increases the glucose tolerance. Once again, so we're talking about increasing the GLUT4 receptor. The blood sugar lowering effects of banaba. Like I said, it happens because you're actually increasing those receptors. So banaba leaf is spelled B-A-N-A-B-A leaf. Banaba leaf. Everybody got that? Everybody got that? Next one is called gugul. Gugul. G-U-G-G-U-L. G-U-G-G-U-L. Gugul. Y'all got that? This one looks, and so when you look, matter of fact, if you look on YouTube, it's gonna look like a bunch of gummy. It's gonna look like a bunch of gummy bears, but it's not gummy bears. All right. So once again, this one is also a strong anti-inflammatory. This one actually works on your pancreas. It works on your pancreas by protecting the beta cells and also decreasing the fat inside the pancreas. So when you so-called have burnt out pancreatic cells, it's not burnt out. It's because you have a fatty pancreas. And this is what happens when you have high levels of glucose and high levels of insulin. The same way it happens with your liver. You have high levels of glucose and high levels of insulin. And so it's going to stuff that fat into those cells, into those organs. Fat does not belong in an organ. Fat is an organ, but it doesn't belong in organs. So you can check out gugul. Next is going to be bitter melon. A lot of people are familiar with bitter melon. Bitter melon has been used for a long time. Once again, it works by lowering, it works by its polypeptide P effect, and polypeptide P is a compound inside of bitter melon, and it actually acts like insulin. So it mimics insulin and allows glucose to go into the cell. All right, then next we have Gymnea sylvestre. The way you spell this one is G-Y-M-N-E-M-A. Gym, G-Y-M, Nema, N-E-M-A. Gymnea sylvestre, S-Y-L-V-E-S-T-R-E. So this one is dope. They're all dope. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you one herb is better than another herb because it's all medicine. It's all medicinal. It's all powerful. But this one is very interesting because you don't have many herbs that act this way. But this one, they call it the sugar destroyer because it actually makes sugar less appealing to your taste buds. And when that happens, it helps decrease your sugar cravings. So that's huge for people who are diabetic because you have a lot of sugar cravings. Well, this one helps you actually knock down that cravings that you have for sugar. Next, we have juniper berry. It's not Jupiter, it's juniper. J-U-N-I-P-E-R. They actually consider this one to be natural insulin. So they call juniper berry natural insulin. It contains a plant insulin that works just like your regular insulin. So it contains a plant insulin that works just like your regular insulin that's actually made in the body. So it helps the uptake of glucose. But once again, you got to stop the nutritional colonizer. Then we have white mulberry. White mulberry has also been shown to decrease blood sugar levels by improving glucose and also decreasing the insulin concentrations. All right. So everybody should have 7. Y'all got it? Everybody has 7? So let me go over it real quick again. We have ginger. We have cinnamon. We have green tea. We have gugul, white mulberry, juniper, Gymnea sylvestre, bitter melon, and banaba leaf. Everybody have that? Everybody got that? All right. Good. Good. Ooh. Yo, once again, my name is Edward Williams. I'm the founder and creator of Health by Any Means Necessary. Our mission is to aggressively inspire and radically improve the health condition of our community by any means necessary. And we're doing that by empowering you. We're doing that by giving you the information that's practical and sustainable. Don't go out there open, vulnerable, and not having a decent understanding of these so-called conditions, having a decent understanding of how these medications work. By no means is any of this advice meant to be medical advice. It is not medical advice. Don't stop or start taking any medications without the guidance and the recommendations of your medical practitioner. Make sure you go over that with them if you are interested in doing those things. Now, at H-BAMN.com, we have a link right here in the description if you're interested in checking out our herbal kit for blood sugar. So once again, 7 natural alternatives. We already talked about it. We talked about metformin, what metformin is, how it works, the side effects of metformin, the clinic to dialysis pipeline, why that's something that we can't just sit around and why allow it to happen. We talked about the basics, my basics for diabetic improvement and reversal. And then we went through and talked about the actual 7 herbs that are alternatives to metformin. All right. So I appreciate y'all. So since I started late, I'm going to try to go through some questions real quick. Fasting. Do you take the pill too? Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate all y'all. So everybody in the chat, yo, please do me a favor right now. Hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. And make sure you share this video. Share this video because you have family members who are suffering alone. They feel hopeless. They have no idea what to do about the tingling in their feet. They have no idea what to do about the sugar. They have no idea why their blood sugar is constantly increasing and the medication is constantly increasing. They're experiencing all these side effects alone. Diabetics have a high level of depression because diabetes, look, if I have to go into the whole physiology of how diabetes affects the psyche, I'll be here for another whole hour or 2 hours. But yo, if you know somebody who's diabetic, share this video. Don't let them be out there on their own. At least give them a starting ground for where they can get help, for when they can start to empower themselves, because this is what there is. Now, this is only for people who are actually going to do the work. If you are fine with just taking the medications, then, you know, it's your prerogative. It's your life. Don't you let nobody tell you that you have to live life a certain way. All right. That's between you and you. Now, for those who actually want to take action, for those who don't want to just fall in line and get on the conveyor belt and allow whatever's going to happen on the conveyor belt, then this is for them. This is the empowerment. This is the empowerment. You know, when you start talking about fasting, it becomes a problem because fasting is completely free. Nobody benefits from that other than you. Well, I would say that more than you would benefit from fasting, your whole entire family and your community would benefit from fasting. Your generations to come will benefit from you fasting and making that actual, embedding that into the culture. Fasting needs to be embedded back into the Black community. We have to get back to doing this. All right. So let me keep reading the questions. Yeah. So I see somebody talking about, you know, black seed oil. So like I said, any herb, you know, there's many herbs. So somebody asked me about celery juice, black seed oil. Look, everything is natural plant food is going to be beneficial, but don't forget about the basics. If you can't deal with the basics, then a lot of the times, you know, we're doing the same thing with herbs that we have been trained to do with medications. See, with medications, like I said, it's symbolic victories. You're not actually getting progress. The numbers look nice. You feel good about the numbers, but the actual pathology, the actual condition itself is still raging on. So we do that with medications. And what I'm seeing happening now is we're doing the same thing with herbs. We're still living the same lifestyle, and we're taking herbs, getting frustrated that the herbs aren't working. Like I said, you're not going to have an internal revolution if the colonizers and the actual warriors are living in perfect harmony. That's not going to happen. So you got to get the colonizers out of there. High intensity interval training is great because it upregulates the GLUT4 receptors, but it also brings in the blood sugar without the use of insulin. All right. Yeah, so make sure if y'all want any more information, you know, check out the link in the description. You know, you can contact me, find me on Instagram or Facebook at HealthBAMN, BAMN. My name is Edward Williams. I'm the founder of Creative Health Body Necessary. I really appreciate you all for being here with me. I got to get to the gym. I have some other things I got to get done. So I'll be back here So I appreciate you all. Remember, we have what it takes, man. We have what it takes, and we got to do it. We got to do it for the future generations. It's our community, our responsibility. Let's put in that work. All right. Peace.